Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever felt like you're constantly trying to keep up with the latest in cloud development, especially, within the SAP ecosystem?
Oh, absolutely. It moves
It
fast.
really does. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something vital for pretty much every SAP consultant or developer out there.
Right?
The best practices for cloud development on SAP Business Technology Platform, or SAP BTP.
Right.
We're drawing insights from SAP's own comprehensive guide, which is designed really to give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed
Yeah.
and well-prepared.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is how much thought SAP has actually put into guiding customers through the whole life cycle of cloud applications.
Hmm.
Our mission today, I think, is to distill the most critical nuggets of knowledge. So starting from planning your landscape all the way to operating and improving your applications.
The whole journey.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll cover foundational concepts, organizational setups, securities, a big one development methodologies, and even how to handle challenges like failover. This isn't just about what to do, but really why these best practices are essential for building robust, scalable, and secure cloud solutions.
So whether you're an architect, maybe a project lead, an administrator, or a developer down in the weeds writing code, you'll walk away with actionable insights, things you can actually use to elevate your SAP BTP projects.
Hopefully, yeah.
Think of it as a playbook for success in the cloud, helping you avoid those common pitfalls and, optimize your development journey.
Makes sense.
First, let's establish some basic platform concepts. When we talk about SAP BTP, we're talking about an integrated offering, right? Designed to turn data into business value, compose end-to-end processes, extend SAP apps.
Right at the core idea.
At its heart are these key components: global accounts, sub-accounts, environments, and regions. What do people really need to get about these?
Okay, that's the perfect starting point. Your global account.
Huh?
Think of it like the digital version of your contract with SAP.
Okay, the main container.
Exactly. It's where you manage your overall entitlements, your quotas for services. Then, within that, you create sub-accounts. Now, these are tied to a specific region and a specific environment.
Got it.
They act as your organizational units for projects, managing members, authorizations, and actually consuming those entitlements from the global account.
Mm-hmm.
And a crucial evolution, especially for new accounts, is feature set B. This introduces directories.
Ah, directories. I've heard about those.
Yeah, they're a big deal.
Hmm.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, directories allow for a hierarchical grouping of subaccounts. It gives you way more flexibility to organize things, maybe based on business needs, geographical separation, or even cost accounting. It's much better for larger setups.
So it's like a nested folder structure for your cloud resources. That makes sense.
Pretty much, yeah.
And speaking of responsibility, there's also a clear shared responsibility model on SAP BTP. What does that mean for our listener? What's SAP's part? What's your part?
This raises a really important question. Who does what? And it causes confusion sometimes.
I bet.
In essence, SAP handles the core platform infrastructure. Think monitoring the underlying hardware, patching, updates, database operations for the platform.
Okay, the foundations.
Right. Your responsibility as the customer is managing your global and sub-accounts, configuring them, and critically developing and operating your applications.
Ah, so the app itself is on you.
Exactly. You're building on SAP's robust foundation. But the application lifecycle, security within your app, performance tuning for your code,
Hmm.
that's in your hands.
Before you write a single line of code, then, this planning phase is critical. It really sets the stage for everything. We're talking about creating a strong governance model, setting up your account structure, security.
Indeed. A strong governance model is your starting point. Non-negotiable, really. This involves defining team setups, like dedicated cloud development teams and maybe a central cloud administration team or a center of excellence, CE.
COE, right.
For developers, a DevOps approach is highly recommended. So the same team develops and operates the application.
Build it, run it.
Exactly. Ensures faster feedback, ownership, continuous improvement. The COE, on the other hand, defines central guidelines, operates the overall cloud landscape, supports adoption. They often create key documents, too,
Like what?
like an onboarding document for new projects, a security document outlining compliance needs, maybe a services catalog to streamline collaboration with dev teams. It keeps things standardized.
That's a smart way to standardize and scale. Now, let's talk about the account model. The guide strongly recommends a staged development environment. What does that look like in practice?
Yeah, this is another must-have. A common best practice is to create at least 3 sub-accounts, one for development, one for testing, and one for production.
Dev, test, prod, the classic setup.
Exactly. This separation allows for dedicated user management, data management at each stage. It ensures quality delivery and security. You don't want developers messing with production data.
Definitely not.
For those on feature set B, you might group these into a directory. Account model 5, feature set A, or account model 6, feature set B, are good starting points. They allow separation by functional area or project.
Okay.
You might also separate subaccounts for different development teams, or for higher security applications, or even to share expensive resources like SAP HAN databases while keeping things isolated operationally.
So the key is isolation and clear separation of concerns.
Precisely.
And that naturally leads us to security and compliance. Applications on SAP BTP are internet exposed, right? So what are the critical considerations here?
Security is paramount, absolutely. The guide outlines several concepts: network security with firewalls, DMZs. But the really key piece for connecting back is the cloud connector.
Ah, yes, the cloud connector. Crucial for hybrid setups.
Incredibly crucial. It gives you secure, fine-grained access to on-premise systems without opening inbound ports in your firewall. It uses a reverse invoke pattern.
Yeah.
Very secure.
Okay, and for identity.
For identity and authorization, the recommendation is MALL or OpenID Connect for single sign-on, and crucially, principal propagation for back-end access.
Principal propagation. Explain that a bit more.
Sure. It means the user's identity who logged into the BTP app gets securely passed all the way down to the on-premise back-end system, like S/4 AMIA. So the back-end knows who is making the request, essential for auditing and proper authorization checks.
Got it. End-to-end identity.
Exactly. We generally recommend using SAP Cloud Identity Services Identity Authentication as your central identity hub, especially if you've got multiple corporate identity providers.
Makes sense to centralize.
Yeah. And for authorization, small setups might do manual assignment. But for large firms, identity federation or provisioning are critical for automating role assignments based on user attributes or external tools.
Automation is key at scale.
Definitely. And finally, a huge best practice: restrict access. Your cloud development team should mainly have access to dev subaccounts. The cloud administration team manages testing and production. Keep those environments locked down.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Once your landscape is planned and secure, it's time to build. SAP BTP offers a whole array of tools, programming models. Where should people start?
Well, for most development projects, SAP recommends the Cloud Application Programming Model, CAP.
CAP. Heard a lot about that.
Yeah, it provides a really consistent end-to-end experience. Tailored languages, libraries, APIs, simplifies things a lot. And while CKP works anywhere, SAP Business Application Studio is highly recommended as the IDE.
The successor to Web IDE, right?
Exactly. Much more powerful cloud native. Then you have the runtime environments. Cloud Foundry is great for cloud native apps, lots of language support.
Yeah.
ABA for extending S/4HANA or migrating ABA code. And Kaima for Kubernetes-based microservices and serverless functions.
So lots of options depending on the need and skills.
Right. And feature set B lets you mix these in one sub-account, which is pretty flexible.
That flexibility is great, but one challenge in cloud development is managing all these interconnected components. How do we keep that complexity in check, especially deployment?
This is where multi-target applications, MTAs, become a best practice, a really important one.
MTAs, okay.
Think of MTAs as a way to package multiple interdependent software modules, maybe written in different languages, using different tools into a single deployable unit.
Like a zip file for your whole application.
Kind of, yeah, but smarter. It includes a deployment descriptor that defines all the dependencies and configurations. This simplifies deployment massively, handles dependency management, and makes CI/CD automation much easier.
Avoids dependency hell.
Exactly that. And a powerful use case for MTAs is enabling multi-tenancy. You set up a provider-subscriber scenario. A single deployment can serve multiple customers or departments, centralizing lifecycle management. Big efficiency gain.
That sounds huge. And to really speed things up and ensure quality, continuous integration and delivery, CI/CD is key, right?
Absolutely. CI/CD is just fundamental for modern cloud development, no question.
So CI.
Continuous integration means frequently merging code changes, verifying them with automated builds and tests, catching errors early.
Okay. And CD?
Continuous delivery extends that. It ensures that any successfully tested change is always ready for production deployment. Maybe not automatically deployed, but ready to go with a click.
Got it. Speeds things up, reduces errors.
Dramatically.
Hmm.
SAP provides two main approaches: the SAP Continuous Integration and Delivery Service, ready-to-use pipelines, managed by SAP, or Project Pipa, which is open source, giving you pre-configured Jenkins pipelines if you want more control or have existing infrastructure.
So options there too.
Yep.
Beyond just building, we also need applications that are robust, that can handle issues. What about resilient applications?
Resilience is critical, especially for anything important. On SAP BTP, particularly in Cloud Foundry, you build high availability by deploying your application with multiple instances.
More than one copy running.
Right. And the platform automatically distributes these instances across different availability zones, physically separate locations. So if one zone has an issue, the other instances keep serving requests.
Built-in redundancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental pattern for stability in the cloud.
So you've built your resilient application. Now, how do you get it into the hands of your users and keep it running smoothly? Deployment, delivery, monitoring?
Right, the ops part of DevOps. Deployment can be manual or managed. For MTAs, you can deploy manually via the cockpit or CLI.
But probably shouldn't for anything serious.
Pretty much, yeah. A managed approach using CI/CD pipelines or transport management tools is much better, like the SAP Cloud Transport Management Service.
Okay, tell me about that.
It's specifically designed for BTP content, including MTAs. It helps you propagate changes through your stages, dev, test, prod, in a controlled, auditable way. Really useful, especially in hybrid landscapes. Or you could use TPS Plus from your on-prem system, especially for ABAP-heavy scenarios.
So tools to manage the flow.
Yes, controlled flow is key.
And what about ensuring applications stay available even if there is a major outage, like a whole data center issue? The guide talks about failover planning.
This is where you plan for the big problems. For business-critical apps, a multi-data center setup is the best practice, usually active-passive.
Active-passive, okay.
This means deploying your application in 2 data centers in parallel. Then you need to keep these 2 applications in sync.
How do you do that?
Manually mirroring Git repos, maybe? Or using a CI/CD pipeline that deploys to both simultaneously, or using tools like the Solution Export Wizard and SAP Cloud Transport Management Service in Neo.
Okay, so you have 2 synchronized applications. How do you trigger the switch if something goes wrong?
Good question. You define how a failover is detected, often using automated checks looking for specific error codes, maybe high response times on user requests.
So if the primary fails these checks,
Traffic gets redirected to the secondary data center, often managed via DNS or a load balancer, or sometimes just a link on a down page.
and then getting back, the failback.
Right. You also decide on the failback strategy. In active-passive, failback is mandatory once the primary is fixed. The guide suggests maybe handing control to the user, letting them finish their current task on the backup system before prompting them to switch back. It avoids jarring interruptions.
That's actually quite a thoughtful, user-centric approach.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so the app is live, it's resilient, it has failover, but you need to watch it. Monitoring becomes crucial. What tools are available?
Absolutely. You need eyes on it. SAP BTP offers native tools like the SAP Application Logging Service for logs and health checks.
Standard stuff?
Right. But for hybrid landscapes, you really want to integrate with SAP Solution Manager or SAP Cloud ALM. They give you much richer capabilities, integration monitoring, user experience monitoring, exception management across systems.
A holistic view.
Exactly. You can also check the SAP Trust Center for overall platform status and use the SAP Alert Notification Service to get alerts about your specific application issues sent to email or tickets, whatever you configure.
Proactive alerting. Good.
And don't forget web acceleration using CDN's content delivery networks, especially for global users. Caching content closer to them makes a huge difference in performance.
Right. Edge caching. Makes sense. Finally, the cloud journey isn't a one-time thing, is it? It's about continuous improvement and eventually retiring applications too.
Exactly. It's a cycle. Post-go live, the cloud development team is responsible for ongoing improvements and maintenance, regularly checking against platform updates, fixing bugs, listening to user feedback for new features.
Always iterating.
Always. And automating recurring operational tasks, maybe using SAP Automation Pilot to script things. For new versions, you want zero downtime if possible. Blue-green deployment in Cloud Foundry is fantastic for this.
Blue-green. How does that work in it?
You have your current live version, blue. You deploy the new version to a separate identical environment, green. Test it thoroughly there. Once you're happy, you just flip the router to send all traffic to green.
Instant switchover.
Instant switchover. Zero downtime for users. If something's wrong, you flip back to blue just as quickly. It's very safe.
Nice. And retirement.
And when an application reaches end of life, a proper retirement process is needed, ensuring data retention rules are followed, compliance is met, maybe migrating off old platforms like Neo if necessary. You can't just switch it off.
Wow. What a deep dive into the best practices for SAP BTP cloud development. That was a lot to cover.
It is a comprehensive topic. Yeah.
From the strategic planning of your account model and security, through agile development with CAP and MTAs, to robust deployment using CI/CD failover strategies. It's clear that thoughtful design at every stage is just paramount. We've seen how concepts like tiered subaccounts, MTAs tackling dependency hell, and these failover strategies aren't just buzzwords. They're practical necessities for building scalable, reliable cloud solutions.
Indeed. And if you zoom out, the underlying theme here is really preparedness and structured agility.
Structured agility, I like that.
These best practices aren't just rules to follow blindly. They're about empowering consultants, developers, empowering you to navigate the complexities of cloud development with confidence, building applications that actually drive business value and, stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the platform's nuances to unlock its full potential. The goal is always to reduce friction and increase velocity in your development efforts.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How might embracing these best practices fundamentally change how your team approaches its next SAP BTP project? Not just technically, but maybe fostering that culture of continuous improvement and resilience.
And maybe thinking beyond just one project, how might these practices influence the way you integrate cloud-native applications with your existing SAP landscape?
Yeah.
How do you move towards becoming a truly intelligent, adaptive enterprise using BTP?
Definitely something powerful to chew on. Until next time, keep diving deep.